All right, this is a great video idea. I didn't even come up with it. A dealer mentioned the idea. I decided to poll some dealers, some who may or may not live in the Omaha Council Bluffs area, some who may or may not work in the Omaha Council Bluffs area, some who may or may not live and work or have worked in Las Vegas. Who knows? Keeping them anonymous. However, the dealer who presented this idea gave that dealer credit with the thumbnail picture and with this first dealer pet peeve. I recreated it pretty well in that thumbnail picture. I was in the small blind one day and got a pretty good picture. There it is, picture exemplifying it. It's funny because there's a dealer at Aria who said the same thing a long time ago. When a player folds and folds the cards with the chips on top, that's the first one. It's hilarious because it was like 2021 in Aria, and I don't even think we were talking about this, but a dealer said, you know, if you want to help me out, please don't fold with your chips on top of the cards. That makes it worse. That makes it so much worse. Fold your cards, leave the chips there. That would be so much better. People think they're helping me, and now I'm just getting like a pile of things, and I need to like make two motions anyway. It's just so much worse. It's interesting because sometimes I do it by accident in trying not to do it. I have a deck of cards here. I have some chips. I'll show you. I try to use the edge of the cards to push the chip, and then at the last second with my arm as extended as possible, try to like separate the two, because I know some dealers don't like this. Really only a big deal if you're on the ends of the table, if you're very close to the dealer. It's not something I do with like the 2-seat, the 3-seat, 6, 7-seat. Let me show you though. Okay, this is what I try to do. So here's my small blind, here are my two cards. I try to use the edge of the cards and hit the edge of the chip if I'm folding the small blind, for instance, and then at like the last second, kind of separate them. So the dealer could scoop in the chip, scoop in the cards. There are times it doesn't work out perfectly, and at like the last second, the cards get under the chip, and that's what they don't like, but I'm usually trying to make it separate so that they could grab each, because I know they really don't like it when they need to like drag in both and there are chips on top of cards. Next one is interesting. It's when a player asks for a count knowing the entire time he's going to fold. Now, you can't know exactly, but I guess you can kind of sense it. I guess the dealer doesn't like it for like the pointless work. Like, it's bad enough that time's being wasted. If you know you're going to fold, like you got raised, you were bluffing, you know you're going to fold, but you're just like waiting to like save face, you're Hollywooding. And this dealer said when a player asks for a count, so now the dealer needs to like reach across the table, cut down a lot of chips and count it, and as soon as the dealer says the number, the player folds. So it looked like the player was going to fold the entire time. The fact that time was wasted and the dealer had to reach out and cut down some chips was pretty annoying. On to the third one. This one, I didn't ask why the dealer doesn't like it. I know why I don't like it as a player. When people kind of talk about the hand while it's going on, like someone will say, how much will it take to get you to fold? If I bet 100, will you fold? If I bet 125, will you fold? Or the other way. Will you call 25? Will you call 35? If I call, want to check it down? Things like that. I hate it because it's collusion. It's not, you know, the most vicious form of collusion. There was once at Bellagio, guys were just signaling to each other. It wasn't even like they weren't hiding it that well. I told the floor listened but didn't care in the least, and then I just changed tables. But it's kind of like a weird friendly form of collusion. I mean, there's a lot of forms of collusion. Friends soft playing each other, I mean, that's a form of collusion. It's not going to be the downfall of poker, but if, you know, it's very like binary. Is it collusion or is it not collusion? Yes, it is. So I don't like when people talk like that either. I wonder why the dealer doesn't like it. I should have asked. Just for the integrity of the game? I don't know, because it wastes a little time. I don't know, but I don't know. If you're a dealer and you hate why people do that, let me know from a dealer's perspective why you don't like that. So I understand very well from a player's perspective why people wouldn't like it. Should have asked that dealer the reasoning, but I didn't. Here's one that, depending on the position, is okay, sometimes isn't okay. One dealer I asked said, players who fold when checking is possible. So, you're not supposed to do that in most positions. The reason is, say there's 3 players in a hand on the flop. One player checks. Then the second player just folds. Well, now the third player gets to act while only being heads up. That first player had to act while being 3-handed. So that fold, when a check was possible, has given an advantage to the third player. That's the reasoning. But with that reasoning, folding first to act is fine. Say the first player of 3 just folds. Of course he could check. Say he just folds. Well, now the other 2 players both get to act knowing their heads up. So neither has an advantage over the other. Same thing last to act. Say 2 people checked and then the third player just folds even though he could check and get to the next street. Well, the first 2 players already acted and both acted knowing it was a 3-handed flop. So if you're first or last, a lot of rooms don't even give you a warning. That's okay. But yeah, if you're in the middle, they do. A lot of people usually don't know the reason, but that's the reason, because at least one player acted with more people in the hand than another player. Another player got to act with fewer players in the hand, and things weren't balanced, things weren't fair. Last one, and in that same vein as the most recent one, the 4th one I talked about, this is the 5th one of this video. Folding out a turn. It's funny, a lot of people think if you fold, it doesn't matter if you act out a turn. You see this a lot when people go to the bathroom. It might be like 4-handed on the flop. A player is third to act, and before the first person acts, the third player will just walk to the bathroom. Well, you know, you leave the table, your cards are dead, that's a fold, and it wasn't on you. So you've acted out a turn, you folded out a turn. Shouldn't do that. It's, last year at Orleans, I mean, it happened a few times. I remember once, you know, the guy left. He stood up from the table, he walked away. So, all right, took his cards, it's a fold. Someone at the table got mad at me that I didn't tell him he couldn't do it. Well, I don't know in advance if this guy's planning on doing that. He just got up and walked away. What am I supposed to do? When he returns, I can tell him, you're not supposed to do that. And I could tell him the reason. There's nothing I can do when he's 100 feet away and in a bathroom. But a player got mad at me that I didn't tell the guy in advance. I wasn't psychic enough to know that this was about to happen, I guess. But yeah, you see it a lot when, yeah, it's weird. It's like they're not going to go to the bathroom if they bet. They're not going to go to the bathroom if they raise. But yeah, they know they're not going to, they totally missed the board and they had to go to the bathroom and they're choosing this hand. They can't just like wait 5 seconds till action's on them, but you see that happen a lot. Interesting that it annoyed that dealer. I guess that dealer cares about the integrity of the game because it really doesn't mess up, you know, anything the dealer's doing. Actually makes that streak go a little quicker when the guy kind of folds in advance. But I guess that dealer cares a lot about the integrity of the game. That's awesome. So that's a wrap on this video. But I polled a few dealers, and don't expect this to be the only installment of Poker Dealer Pet Peeves. And remember, rice is a spoon food.